Today, we will be doing a quick walkthrough of the isolved People Cloud Adaptive Employee Experience. As an employee, I will be able to access my personal information by logging in directly through my computer, through my tablet, or even directly through my smartphone. The experience will be the same regardless of what device the employee is logging in from. As an employee, to access the Adaptive Employee Experience, I will need to first enter my username. The employee's username will typically be their email address, and that may be a work or a personal email address. Once the employee enters their username, it then will allow them to enter their password. Now, if the employee forgets their password, as an employee, I have the capability of resetting my own password. To do so, I can hit the Forgot My Password link. I can type in my username once again. The system will then confirm that it is the correct username that I'm looking to reset the password for. And when I hit confirm, the system will give me one of two options. It will ask me, do I want to receive my security code to my email address or to my cell phone? Depending on which option the employee selects here, when they hit send, the system will generate a 7-digit security code back to the employee, either via their email address or via a text message to their smartphone. Once the employee receives that, they can log back into the system, key in that 7-digit security code, and it will allow them to create a new password. Once the employee resets the password, they can log back in with their existing username and now their new password. And when they hit next, that will log them directly into the Adaptive Employee Experience. Now, because this employee is accessing the system from their smartphone, the employee can use their finger to left to right swipe to menu item if they choose to. Some of the functionality that is available to the employee from the Adaptive Employee Experience is the ability for the employee to clock in and out through the system. Now, with that, the employee will have access to their time card. They can click on the time card option. It would bring any time entries that are currently on their time card. If the employee chooses to clock in and out, they can hit the icon, the clock icon, which is the pink icon in the bottom right-hand corner, and that will give them a few options. The first option, which looks like a little lightning bolt, is what is defined as the quick punch option. With the quick punch option, the system will automatically determine the punch for the employee. So when they hit the punch option, because this employee is currently clocked in, as you see here at the top in the green bar, it will then automatically clock that employee out. If that employee was currently clocked out, which will show up in yellow, it will then automatically clock the employee back in. So the system is determining the punch based upon a previous punch that has been recorded. You also notice that the system can also track the location of the employee when they go to clock in and clock out. So that way, if the client does allow the employee to clock in and out through their smartphone, they can track the GPS location of where that employee was when they went to punch in and punch out. The client would be able to pull up that punch via a Google map, and they can pinpoint the exact location of where that employee was currently located when they truly hit that punch option. Now, there's a second way to clock in and out, and that is what is the second icon, which is the detailed punch option. With the detailed punch option, it allows the employee some additional options to select when clocking in or clocking out. The first option that's available is the type of punch. So the employee can do, it's a normal punch. They can clock in and out for a meal, or they can clock in and out for a break. So they can define the type. They can also define the mode. By leaving it auto, the system will automatically determine the punch. So because this employee's in, it will then automatically clock them out. If that employee was out, it would then, of course, automatically clock them in. But if the employee chooses to designate the type of punch that they're doing, they can select in, and it will automatically clock them in regardless if they were already clocked in or not. It just creates a new in punch. They can designate it as an out, and it will then define it as an out punch. Or they can do a transfer option. And the transfer option allows the employee to clock into different labor values or different cost centers. So if the company allows their employees to clock or track time to different departments or different projects or different jobs, they can transfer throughout the day. And by transferring from one department to the next, the system will automatically clock the employee out of their previous department and clock them right back into the new department at the exact same time. It does 2 sets of punches with one with the transfer option. If the employee is clocking in for the first time of the day and they need to allocate what cost center or labor field they wish to clock into, here at the bottom, the employee in this case has 2 different options. They can clock into a specific department, or they can clock into a labor field called journaling. These fields are defined by each individual company. So this is specific to a company. So for this company, they want their employees to clock into a specific department, so they can choose what department they're clocking into. And in this case, they can select a second drop-down list called journaling, where they have different journaling items out there. If the employee wishes to leave a note, they also have the ability to leave a note with the detail punch option. When they hit save, the system will automatically, determine the punch, but it will assign that punch to a specific department in this case. So if they are clocking in, it will clock them in specifically to that department. Now, also as an employee, not only can I clock in and out, but I can also request time off. So the employee can easily come in and not only see their current balances, and these are just examples. So for this company, they provide a PTO policy, they provide a state sick policy, and they also provide a vacation policy. As an employee, I can see what the current balance is. I can also see any upcoming time off request. I can see the pending request. I can see any past request. And of course, I can also see my company holidays all from the same screen. If the employee wishes to get additional information on the PTO policy as an example, they can click the detail button, and that will bring in things like, their service date, which is the accrual date, the annual accrual date, it's the start date for that employee. That's the date they started working for that company. They can see the length of service. They can see what the schedule is of this accrual for this bucket of hours for PTO. It's accruing every pay period. It was last awarded on 9/21. That's the last time that the system accrued the time. And they're currently at a rate of 6.67 hours. So that means that every pay period, this employee will accrue at a rate of 6.67 hours. They can also see, as of the last pay period end date, what their accrual was. They can see projected for this current pay period. They can see projected for the current year. And then they can do projections for next year as well. And that will factor in carryover hours if there's any carryover rules built in. If the employee wishes to request time off, they can click the plus sign in the upper right-hand corner. And this will give them the option to choose the policy that they wish to request. Now, on the previous page, we had PTO, we had state sick, and we had vacation. When the employee chooses this drop-down list, they still see those options, but they also have additional options as well. They have a category called FMLA. They have jury duty. They even have an unpaid leave option. These are still time off categories that can be tracked, but they don't necessarily have to tie into an actual accrual balance. So the system is not going to maintain a balance for these category types. But if the employee wishes to choose a accrual that has a balance like PTO, in doing so, it will bring in not only their available hours, but it also will forecast and project what the hours will look like after the request occurs, so after the day occurs. The reason they are the same is because the employee has not entered in the days just yet. So the employee has the capabilities of choosing the dates, and we'll just go to, let's say, the 10th of October. They can say, you know what, I'm going to take off the entire week, so the 10th through the 14th. And in doing so, the system automatically determines that that's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and it highlights those days off. It also allows the employee to put a start time, or they can just input the number of hours that they wish to request each day. So in this case, because the employee entered in 8 hours and they were requesting 5 days off, the system takes that and determines that that's a 40 hours that the total request is for. Now, as we look at the top, under after request occurs, it now drops that available balance down by 40 hours because after those days occur, the employee will have 80 hours remaining in their current balance. The employee also can leave a note on the reason why they wish to take that day off if they choose to. When the employee hits the submit option, it will register that, give them a confirmation message. But at that point, the system via workflows will automatically generate an email to the approving individual. And that can be a manager or an administrator. Now, once the approval takes place, the employee will get an email notification back letting them know that their request has been approved. And then, of course, they can always come back in and see it approved on the screen itself as well. On top of allowing the employees access to clock in and out and request time off, the employees will also have access to some of their historical pay information. So when we click on the pay history tab, it allows the employee to see their most recent pay stub. So here's a pay stub that was generated on September 9th. That's the actual check date itself. The employee can see the net pay, the gross pay, and the number of hours they were paid for. As they scroll down, they can see additional information on that. So they can see their filing status information if they choose to. They can see their total earnings, not only for this pay period, but for year-to-date totals as well. I'm sorry, that's just for their current pay period. They can see employee taxes, current and year-to-date. And then they can see the deductions, current and year-to-date as well. If the employee wishes to see their balances, they can see their balances here below. And the employee can also see how their direct deposit accounts were funded. If the employee wishes to actually download a physical copy of that pay stub, they can hit the download pay stub option, and the system will generate that pay stub directly to the device that they're logging in from. So in this case, because the employee is logging into their smartphone, it'll save that locally to their smartphone. If the employee wishes to download multiple pay stubs at once, they can select the multiple pay stub option, and this will give them the ability to choose which pay stubs they wish to download. And by selecting those 4 pay stubs, when the employee hits the download option, the system will generate those 4 pay stubs into one PDF file that will be saved locally based upon the device that the employee is logging in from. So because this employee is logging in through their smartphone, it'll save those 4 pay stubs into one PDF file directly to their smartphone. Now, if the employee wishes to see other information outside of the pay history, they can also see their year-end tax forms. So they can see their W-2s. They can, if they're being provided a 1095 form, they can see their 1095s. Or if this employee was an actual 1099 employee, they would also have access to their yearly 1099s. If the employee wishes to download a W-2 or a 1095, they can simply click on which one they wish to download, and the system will download that into a PDF format directly to the device that they're logging in from. Employees will also have access to update their own direct deposit information. So here this employee has 3 different direct deposit accounts currently active in the system. Based upon the number, so savings 1, pay card 2, that is the order of how the system will fund these direct deposit accounts. The employee can change the order at any point in time, and they can move it up or down in the list to determine which accounts get funded first. If the employee wishes to add a new direct deposit account, they can click the Add New option, and this will give them the ability to enter in their routing number, the account type. They can give it a description, and they can choose whether they want this account to be funded via a flat dollar amount, or they can identify the flat dollar amount, or they can do it by percent of pay, and they can designate what percent of pay of the net pay do they want funded. They can also control the frequency, so it can be every pay period, or they can choose whether it's, maybe the first and second pay of every month, or the first and third. As you see, there's a lot of different options on the frequency of when these accounts will get funded. Once they hit save, the system will automatically make those accounts active in the system. Employees will also have access to, throughout the year, to potentially go in and update their tax information. So the system will show them not only their federal statuses and exemptions, but also the state exemptions as well. Now, if the employee wishes to update their tax information, whether it's federal or state, they can hit the Start Wizard option, and the system will walk them through a user-friendly experience, updating their tax information via the form of a wizard. Now, in this case, it will give them the option to update either the federal or state. And the reason the system knows that it's Pennsylvania is based upon the employee's address that is loaded into the system. The system will automatically identify the appropriate state level form based upon the residential location of that employee. There are times where an employee may have more than one state form, and that would be if they live in one state but work in a different state, the system can generate 2 state forms, one based upon the residential location and one based upon a work location that's been assigned to that employee. If the employee wishes to update their federal, they can click Continue, and now this is where it gets them into the wizard process. They can choose whether they want to continue in English or Spanish. They can start the process. The first question that it will ask the employee is, are they a non-resident alien? Yes or no? We'll just go from over with now. As they hit next, it brings in the next question. Are you an exempt from 2022 withholdings? I am not, or I am. We're going to go with I am not. From there, it's going to ask for their filing status. We'll stay with the top one for now. From there, it's going to ask them, do they wish to use the estimator? Do they want to do the multiple jobs worksheet, the two jobs option, or none of the above? We'll go with none of the above. From there, it's going to ask, do they wish to claim an independence, yes or no? Go with no. And then the last question is going to ask, do they wish to make any other adjustments for other income deductions and or extra withholdings? We'll go with no. Once the employee hits next for that last time, the system will then take all that information and it will generate and create the W-4 document on behalf of that individual employee. Once the employee submits the form, the system will then store a physical copy of that W-4 document into the employee's profile. Now, at that point, there could be workflows built in on the back end where maybe as an administrator, an HR representative for that company, I wish to be notified of these changes and I wish to do an approve on that. You can actually approve these via the form of a workflow if need be. Some of the other information that the employees have access to, they can see those documents. And when they click on documents, that's where it will give them access to maybe their I-9 forms or their state level documents. It will show all that information from here as well. So as you see from an employee's experience, because it is an adaptive employee experience, as an employee, I will have easy access to not only log in through whatever device I wish, whether it's a computer, a tablet, or a smartphone, but once I'm logged in, my experience will be the same. I will have easy access to clock in and out. I can go in and request time off. I can see my historical pay stubs, all my end of year documentation for W-2 and ACA. I potentially can go in and update my own direct deposit information. I can even go in and update my own tax information as well. With that, that is the completion of today's call. I want to thank you for your time.